Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of today's stories. San Francisco has a new district attorney. The mayor appointed a new city prosecutor to replace the recently recalled Chesa Boudin. We'll hear what she had to say at the ceremony. In the wake of the Supreme Court ruling on concealed carry weapons, California is drafting new, stricter legislature. It could make carrying a firearm in the state, concealed or not, even more difficult. And the head of one state water district says that the state's water crisis is wholly man-made. She says that mismanagement has led to enough water to sustain tens of millions of Californians has simply run off into the Pacific Ocean. San Francisco is getting a new district attorney appointed by the mayor. The new prosecutor was sworn in and replaces Chesa Boudin, who voters recalled earlier this year over his soft on crime policies. Here are the details. On Thursday evening, San Francisco Mayor London Breed appointed Brooke Jenkins to serve as district attorney for both the city and county of San Francisco.
Unfortunately, as we all know, we are at a tipping point in San Francisco. San Franciscans do not feel safe, and concerns surrounding public safety have become their #1 concern.
Jenkins previously served as an assistant DA in the San Francisco DA's office from 2014 to 2021. She has over 15 years of experience as an attorney.
The paramount mission of the district attorney's office is to promote public safety. And as your next district attorney, I will restore accountability and consequences to our criminal justice system here in San Francisco. Violent and repeat offenders will no longer be allowed to victimize our city without consequence.
Jenkins says she will target violent crimes, hate crimes, open-air drug markets, and improving incarceration rehab programs. Before her appointment, she resigned from former DA Chesa Boudin's office in 2021 due to dissatisfaction with the office's direction. She then joined in on the recall effort.
She sacrificed her career to fight for people in this city, to fight for victims who needed a voice in this city.
Jenkins is an African American and Latina, as well as a Bay Area native. Her appointment makes her the first Latina DA in San Francisco history. She studied at University of Chicago Law School and UC Berkeley. The new DA will serve until November, when there will be a special election to decide who will complete Boudin's term through 2023. David Lam, Entity News, California. California is making a direct response to a U.S. Supreme Court ruling against strict concealed carry laws. While applications for concealed carry permits are surging in the state, Senate Bill 918 would ban the carrying of guns in virtually most public areas, regardless if someone has a carry license or not. Entity's Jason Blair has the details.
In late June, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down New York's gun law that required people to have a special need or cause in order to get a concealed carry permit for a handgun. California also has similar laws, which now, as a result, are void. SB 918 is a bill that would greatly increase the areas in California that a person may not carry a firearm, as well as update the application requirements.
The Supreme Court decision, frankly, is going to make Californians, Americans, less safe. But it also provided a roadmap for us in California to try to make Californians more safe.
Under the bill, a person would not be able to carry a firearm in or around a wide range of places. Many are places for larger public gatherings, including schools, stadiums, amusement parks, or any business open to the public, unless it puts up a sign allowing firearms.
Parks and sidewalks around parks. As a public safety official person, I've responded to a lot of people that were shot in parks. Open areas like that are where you're most likely to get hit.
The Public Safety Committee passed the bill. It is now awaiting to be heard by the Committee on Appropriations. If made into law, the bill is expected to be challenged in court. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis took a jab at California Governor Gavin Newsom on Friday. The Sunshine State's governor said to a crowd at Cape Coral High School that the Golden State's population decline is due to Newsom's poor governance. He added that Newsom treats Californians like peasants. DeSantis' remarks came in response to a question about Newsom's recent ad campaign that took a shot at DeSantis, calling on Floridians to move to California. Lots of news about Twitter to start the weekend. Elon Musk's deal is off. We'll look at what led to that choice. Here's a hint though, it's about bots. And on top of that, the company hasn't just stopped hiring, it's now firing.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk said today he was terminating his $44 billion deal for Twitter. It's all over the number of spam bots on the network. In a letter to Twitter, Musk's lawyer accused the social media company of failing to comply with its contractual obligations. Part of those obligations were proving that spam bots accounted for less than 5% of total users. Musk had put the buyout on hold over lingering concerns that Twitter has more bots than it's revealing. Musk's lawyer wrote that Twitter did not provide Musk with the relevant business information he requested. Twitter executives have said that fewer than 5% of its user base are such bots. They also say the firm suspends more than 1 million spam accounts daily. A long legal battle may follow Musk pulling out of the deal. Nonetheless, the social media giant's stock was up 3.4% today. But at the same time, 30% of its recruiting team will lose their jobs. That's about 100 Twitter employees. The company originally said it was beginning a hiring freeze, but now layoffs are here as well.
California experienced an exceptionally wet, rainy season this past winter, followed by months of little rain. But the state is still in a drought. One expert says the lack of water distributions may be due to poor policies.
California's drought conditions have had lawmakers sounding the alarm for water use restrictions throughout the state. But one expert says poor state policies are leading to lower reservoir levels. Darcy Burke, president of Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, told California Insider's Siamak Karami that current California policies prevent the state from capturing and distributing available water.
So I'm going to probably not be very popular, but I'm going to tell you a lot of the drought we're in right now is man-made. So yes, we had reduced precipitation, and you're going to hear on the news between January, February, and March, it was the driest 3 months in 22 years or even 1,200 years.
She says much of the water California receives during the rainy season is often released back into the San Francisco Bay.
In May, I think the total was 4.5 million acre feet had gone out since the beginning of the water year. So that's 4.5 million football fields full of water a foot deep. That's enough for 12 million Californians.
Burke says current water restrictions only account for a small percent of the total water usage in the state.
We use 50% less water than we did about a decade ago. So have we improved our efficiency? Yes. But when you look at urban use in the portfolio of the state, urban use is 10% of the pie. You're asking 10% to cut back 20%.
In recent months, state officials and local water districts have implemented a number of measures to reduce water use. For example, the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District in Calabasas, north of Los Angeles, installed flow restrictors in the main water supply lines. These reduce water flow to people's homes. Burke also cited water pumping restrictions related to environmental groups advocating for projects aimed at protecting wildlife.
They see a way to stop a project for whatever reason and then sue if that project were to move forward. And then the money that lawsuit usually renders never ever goes back to mitigating for that project, whether it be a mountain lion or a fish species, it goes back to that organization.
She cited the Delta smelt, a small fish, as an example.
The advocates for the Bay Delta smelt said, okay, we think it's the pumping that's causing the demise of the smelt. So in order to save the smelt, that particular court order reduces the amount of time the pumps through the state project and the Central Valley project can be on and move water.
In a similar move, in early June, the California legislature proposed acquiring water rights from the state's farmers. The goal was to limit how much water can be taken out of rivers and streams. The idea is to benefit endangered species of salmon and other fish that live in the state's waterways. Burke says the state has enough water, but poor management has led to usage restrictions and limited water distribution throughout the state.
To watch the full program, find California Insider on YouTube or Epic TV on the Epic Times website. Governor Gavin Newsom announced on Thursday that the state will begin producing its own insulin. $100 million of the state's budget will go into making the drug more affordable. Newsom cited that patients can pay up to $500 per month for the drug. Research from the Mayo Clinic found that over a 20-year period, the same vial of insulin went from $21 to $332. Patients with diabetes use insulin to regulate blood sugar levels. The last nuclear plant in California is facing retirement as critics want to shut it down. But an energy provider wants to extend its career, and supporters say it is a smart move. PG&E announced it is applying for federal funds on Tuesday to keep the Diablo Canyon nuclear plant operating past 2025. The company will request a deadline extension to the Department of Energy to keep it running. Under the pressure of environmental and labor groups, PG&E planned in 2016 to close the plant in 2025. However, as California pushes for a switch to green energy, there has been a growing need for electricity across the state. Diablo Canyon provides 9% of California's total energy production. Those fighting to keep it open say it's a clean source of energy. According to a joint Stanford and MIT study released last year, letting the nuclear plant operate through 2045 and beyond would save the state $21 billion in system costs. In a letter on June 27th to the U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, 37 scientists, academics, and entrepreneurs wrote, "While California boasts a very high portion of electricity from renewable sources, California will have to boost its total renewable energy production by an enormous 20% in just 2 years to replace the clean energy being produced at Diablo Canyon." Lawmakers from both parties have agreed that the extension is necessary, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Granholm. If the plant gets the funds, the extension would likely happen. The extension application is due by September 6th. We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. Fire is threatening a state symbol in Yosemite. Crews are working to protect the national park's giant sequoias. We'll have an update on their progress. The technology that keeps autonomous cars on the road is now working to help the blind and visually impaired. The technology can assist them in navigating through crowds and directs them around any obstacles in their way. And colorful flutters fill the air of a pavilion in Southern California. The seasonal exhibit is back this year with new and rare butterflies. That and more on California Today. Officials say part of Yosemite National Park has been closed as a wildfire rages near a grove of California's famed giant sequoia trees.
The fire quintupled in size from Thursday night to Friday and forced park officials to close Mariposa Grove. It has the largest sequoia grove in Yosemite and features more than 500 mature giant sequoias. The rest of the park is open. Firefighters are trying to contain the blaze from both the ground and the air. Although sequoias are threatened by the flames, there have been no reports of severe damage to them. Some park visitors had to be evacuated Thursday.
In Los Angeles, those working at some privately owned healthcare facilities in the city could get a pay increase.
Last week, the Los Angeles City Council voted 10-2 for a minimum wage increase for people working in some privately owned healthcare facilities. Under an initiative titled Minimum Wage for Employees Working at Healthcare Facilities, the minimum wage will be set at $25 per hour. The city's general minimum wage is $15 per hour. It was brought to the City Council after a successful petition drive. It will now move to the mayor's office for final consideration. The ordinance raises the workers' minimum wage, adjusting it annually to account for increases in the cost of living. The ordinance applies only to privately owned facilities. These include hospitals, clinics, nursing facilities, or residential care facilities.
The technology that keeps autonomous cars on the road has moved onto the sidewalk. It's helping the blind and those with limited sight navigate through crowds. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
Biped AI has incorporated the same artificial intelligence into a shoulder-mounted smart harness worn around the neck that directs the wearer around any obstacles in their way. The device is called Biped 1.
I can hear the sound of an obstacle becoming louder and louder. Okay, now I know I am close enough, and I know there is nothing on my left, so I can keep going.
Biped 1 generates intuitive 3D sounds to warn the wearer about the position of anything they may collide with. The sounds are delivered to a pair of bone conduction headphones that leave the ears free to hear normally.
It does a bit of what an autonomous vehicle does, but on a pedestrian scale. We detect obstacles, cars, pedestrians, pedestrian crossings, and depending on the context, we filter the data to keep the most important information. We warn the user with 3D sounds, a musical note for each type of object around them, directly played in the headphones the user is wearing.
Biped's developers met at a hackathon. They realized they shared a frustration that autonomous vehicles were getting a tech solution, while blind and visually impaired people still walked with white canes.
We are working on other extensions, in particular a B2B one. We could equip buildings to make them completely accessible to visually impaired people.
More than 100 beta testers have helped develop the device, which goes on sale in September at a price of $3,150. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
With a flash of color and a gentle flutter of wing, NTD's Jackie Rios learned more about what butterflies need to live life to the fullest. At the same time, there's plenty of beauty for guests to enjoy at a recently reopened pavilion in Los Angeles.
Mosquitoes and bees, ants and beetles. Most people do not care for insects. But did you know that butterflies are in fact part of the insect family and we all love butterflies? So today we took a visit to the butterfly exhibit at the Natural History Museum here in Los Angeles.
Well, we provide everything that the butterfly could possibly want here. We give them different types of food sources, different plants, fruit, and they get to engage with other butterflies as they fly around. And in exchange, visitors get to come in and learn about the importance of butterflies and of insects in general. They get to see all sorts of behaviors that are happening inside the pavilion.
Lisa Gonzalez is the program manager for living invertebrates at the museum. She says this year the exhibit includes dozens of new and colorful tropical species from Costa Rica, in addition to existing and rare favorites.
There are two species that are by the coast here in Los Angeles that are incredibly rare, the Palos Verdes blue and the El Segundo blue, and so those are very critically endangered. Unfortunately, other butterflies that are incredibly rare.
Gonzalez says guests come to admire the butterflies for their distinctive and colorful patterns. But for the butterflies, the flittering flashes of color are important to their survival.
We see butterflies, we see their colors, we see their beauty, but we don't always realize what those colors and those patterns are communicating to other animals.
Even before taking to the skies, the little creatures have ways of tricking predators. One example is the giant swallowtail caterpillar.
So whenever you see an animal that's brightly colored, like a yellow or an orange or a red, that animal possibly contains some kind of toxin in their body, and that is what it's communicating to other animals. It's saying, don't eat me, I could make you very sick. There's another little trick that they could do to try to protect themselves, which is eject that like horn-like structure, give off a bad smell.
Gonzalez also listed 2 species that are native to Los Angeles, which the museum is working to protect.
So specifically in Los Angeles, there's the El Segundo blue butterfly and the Palos Verdes blue butterfly, and both of them are critically endangered. So there are ways to help by helping with rehabilitation of habitat or providing their host plants, which is actually really the best way that people can help butterflies.
For those looking for ways to help the butterfly population, Gonzalez reminds people that the best way to help nature is with natural solutions.
So the best way to protect any animal, but specifically butterflies, is to provide the right resources for them. And so with butterflies, a lot of times their caterpillar, their larval stage, needs a specific host plant. So my biggest recommendation is to plant native plants native to that area. And you have to remember that you're feeding both the caterpillar and the adult. So you want to find host plants for the caterpillars, and then you provide the flowers for the adults that are feeding on nectar.
The butterfly exhibit runs through September. Jackie Rios, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Now to NTD's Daniel Hall, sitting in for Thomas Christian for the Sports Roundup.
Pinch hitter Jorge Alfaro hit a bases-loaded single to the warning track in center in the bottom of the 10th inning, giving the San Diego Padres a 2-1 victory over the visiting San Francisco Giants on Thursday. The result was overshadowed by an ugly 5th-inning collision that led to Padres left fielder Jurickson Profar collapsing on the field and eventually being carted off. Profar was charging in and slid just as C.J. Abrams made a lunging over-the-shoulder catch. Abrams' right knee caught the left side of Profar's face along his jawline. Both players went down. Profar collapsed twice while trying to walk off the field, so team doctors had him carted off instead. He was talking with doctors and moving his arms and legs. Hae-Sung Kim started the bottom of the 10th on second base as the designated runner. Giants reliever Jarlin Garcia intentionally walked Austin Nola before Trent Grisham reached first on a bunt single to load the bases for Alfaro with no one out. Nabil Christmas struck out 3 in the top of the 10th around an intentional walk to get the win. Padres 2, Giants 1. Tony Gonsolin pitched 7 strong innings and Mookie Betts hit a pair of home runs as Los Angeles held on to beat visiting Chicago. Gonsolin limited Chicago to 2 runs and became the first 11-game winner in the National League. Alex Vesia got the last out to strand 2 runners and record his first save. Gavin Lux and Justin Turner also homered as the Dodgers won for the 8th time in 9 games. Christopher Morel hit a home run for the Cubs. Mark Leiter Jr. gave up 4 runs on 5 hits over 5 innings in his first start since April 27th. Dodgers 5, Cubs 3. Adley Rutzman homered, Ryan Mountcastle drove in 2 runs, and Jordan Lyles pitched 6+ strong innings to lead host Baltimore over Los Angeles. Anthony Santander had 2 hits for the Orioles, who have won 5 in a row for the first time since winning 6 straight from August 7th to 13th, 2020. Starter Jordan Lyles yielded a run on 5 hits with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks as he picked up his first win since June 14th. The Angels, who got 2 hits from Jonathan Villar, lost for the 5th time in 6 games. Orioles 4, Angels 1.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. And if you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Liang Zhang. On behalf of our entire team, have a wonderful weekend.